रसोई के रहस्य के फेस्टिवल्स ऑफ इंडिया में आपका एक बार फिर से स्वागत है. We have reached our last destination in episodes on Dussehra. We are now traveling to North India and celebrating Navratri there. What is distinctive today is that I don't have a guest with me.
रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम.
Instead, I'm going to share some of my most favorite memories of this particular festival. It's something that we've always seen growing up. Navratri, the pujas of 9 days, as the Punjabis call it, Navrate, being celebrated for many, many years. I mean, it's been one of the fondest memories I have. And we used to look forward to it with such excitement because it meant 9 days of something different in the house. You know, there was buzzing activity every day. Something or the other was happening every day. And what was most special was that we as young girls were very important in the festival. I'm going to tell you why and how as we go along. So what essentially happens here in the 9 days is pretty much similar to what happens in other regions like you've heard. North, South, East and West. It's all celebrating the goddess Durga in her 9 avatars. Each day she is believed to appear in people's homes in a different avatar, so she's worshipped in those different avatars. She is the benefactor, she is the destroyer, she's the preserver, she's the educator, she's the mother, and she's love all around. So it's a very colorful festival, it's a very pious festival, it's a very joyous festival, and has many little rituals that make it extremely interesting. So let's begin at the very beginning. In my own house, I remember as a child looking forward to this festival because Goddess Durga is supposed to, have appeared in various homes during this period in the form of a little girl who is also referred to as a Kanjak in Punjabi. Now, what does Kanjak mean? Kanjak essentially is a girl who is, who hasn't yet attained puberty. And you're considered a young child or a young girl. All these young girls are important because they are all avatars and presence of the goddess in our homes. So of course that made us feel extremely important and it was really interesting to think of what all we had coming for us. From my earliest memories of this festival, there were few things that stood out. One was the fact that there was 9 days of puja, and to take you through, what happens on a daily basis. Every morning, my mother would, put the puja together, which again varies in different homes. So the way the puja is conducted varies in different families and different homes. So I'm going to share with you what happens in my home. Now, we have idols or rather pictures or idols or whatever you do of the goddess in our, temple at home or a puja, whatever space there is. Now, this was taken out the night before the Navratri happened. It is taken out and cleaned up. The whole area is cleaned up. And we get these little, chunni. It's called a chunni. It's basically a little strip of fabric, lacy, a net kind of strip of fabric, which is red and gold and really beautiful with tassels hanging on the side. So the pictures are adorned. It's almost as if she's being dressed in those particular, garments and being made ready for the next day when we welcome her. Then there's also, these little urns that are kept with sand in it, in which goes wheat with a husk on it. So what are we doing here? We are going to be germinating this wheat as well, which is something that we did. And I know of a lot of other families who don't do this, but it was a norm in our house. Then there was also preparation for 2 little girls to be fed every day. So which meant the first day there was suji halwa or shira as it's called. And the subsequent days, whatever went, something sweet was given to these little girls, which was my sister and I in our home. And there was the thread, the sacred thread that is tied on the hand, which is also called the moli. We wore the moli and we were given a little kumkum tilak, small little bindi. And now comes the most favorite part, money. Every single day we got a 1 rupee coin for the puja. Can you believe the excitement as a little child in those days to be given 1 rupee every day? And for all the 9 days, and collecting those was such an absolute high to think that you had a box full of clinking coins. So that was really, really exciting. Now for this, the puja itself in my house, every day my mom made a roti, just a regular pulka, and took some of the same atta or the dough that we used to make chapati to make a little lamp out of it. And that was the lamp that was lit for the puja every day, which meant we kept the roti underneath. On top of it was the lamp filled with ghee and with a wick that was lit. And this puja was lit all through the time till everybody had finished offering obeisance. Now, this is again something which is very distinctive because not every family does this, but in our house, this is something that was done. And on the roti was put the prasad, whatever prasad was given to the girls. There was a little prasad that was left over there, and there were little dots made with the same kumkum, and there was a little, the same sacred thread was tied around the lamp itself. And money offered every day that we did the puja. This later was collected, and of course flowers. There were flowers every day. I had a little garden growing up which had these small little wild flowers of different colors that we used to collect and put them for the puja every day, which was another task which was very, very interesting and exciting to us. You were given this responsibility of going and bringing these flowers. So that was again another thing that was done, part of decorating the entire space. Now, once the puja was done, money was offered and the day's work was over. One important thing that one can't forget is the fact that the germinating wheat every day was offered a little bit of water. So we tried different things. A lot of people use little earthenware pots to put sand or mud from any other pot or any other source in it and put in a few seeds. Just scattered a few, germinating seeds of the wheat with husk. You put it in and cover it with a little more sand, and then you're waiting for it to germinate. And the beauty of it when you see those little, first shoots that come out is a very, very welcoming sight. So it is believed that this is a prosperity and, also the fact that the goddess is visiting your home. So it was very important for us to see, and we used to keep waiting to see those first little green shoots coming in. And when it did, it felt so exciting. It was like, you had achieved something for that particular season. Now, over a period of time, every day, basically the routine was the same. The puja was offered. Every day there was a different goddess, form of her goddess that was prayed to. But most often, if you remember, all of you must have seen many movies where, Goddess Durga on the tiger with her, trident and her sword and everything in the most beautiful avatar, dressed in red with her crown and her beautiful, eyes, luminescent eyes. So this is what we remember of her, and she was referred to as the Sherawali or the goddess on the tiger. Now, that particular form is something that comes before us every time we sat to pray. The regular reading every day was of a sacred text called the Durga Stuti, which had various chapters that my mother used to sit and read. As children, we used to listen to the story, and it was again the whole story of how the goddess vanquished Mahishasura, story of which we've heard from friends in different areas, different regions. If you haven't already heard the episodes, you must hear the episodes because it's there. All of it is over there. We also know of, through various movies and other people who travel, that the holy place that people would love to visit around this time is the Vaishno Devi temple in Jammu. It's beyond this place called Katra on a hill, and it is probably one of the most sacred spaces to go to. for anybody who's a devotee of the goddess. I remember a trip that we had made there when I was, I think, maybe 15 years old, and it was winter, I think end of December, and it was so cold. And we walked up, I think it was about 11 and a half kilometers up the hill, and with a fear of heights and shivering and shaking, to be a South Indian from all the way from Hyderabad to go up north over there and see snow-capped mountains and shiver, shake, and it was raining. But it was such a beautiful, final destination. When you reach it, it is, you walk into a cave, and the temple is in a cave. There are no idols, but there are these little impressions on a stone that is decorated, and that's the goddess there, and that's who you pray to. And when you enter the cave, of course, you can't walk straight, so you bend over and you walk, and you're wading through some water that is of a river called the Banganga. And in the winter, you assume that the water is going to be really cold, but when you put your foot in there, it's absolutely warm, and the water feels so comforting when you walk through it. And now I think, of course, things have changed over there, but I'm talking about really, really a long time ago, which was absolutely wonderful. It was quite an experience of a lifetime. I've never been back after that, but this was an absolutely wonderful experience. And over there as well, once you've been through the temple and you've offered prayers, when you come out, people over there have these little girls that are standing around, and you sit and you pay money to sit and feed these little girls. Again, these are all dressed up like the goddess, the little Kanjak girls. So this is a little off track, but this is also a very, very relatable memory of this particular period in time, the Navratri. Now, after the 9 days of puja, different people actually celebrate either 8 days or 9 days. Now, some people finish their puja on the Ashtami. The culminating day is the Ashtami, or the 8th day, where they feed at least 5 little girls and 1 little boy who's called the Lonkada. So 5 Kanjak and 1 Lonkada is usually the equation, where we ensure that the boy is also in place over there. But you can feed as many as you want, the more the merrier. And it's a very, very wonderful feeling to, see these little kids sitting and eating so happily. And it used to always be very exciting for all of us. When we were children, it was like you got booked for those many, visits to those many homes. Everyone would come and ask my mother and say, we want your daughters for our puja on the Ashtami day or the Navami day or whatever it is, whichever day they decided to pray. And we were, in high demand, complete royalty. We walked into people's homes and we sat for their pujas, and they washed our feet with water, and we were given, tilak was given, the thread was tied, and we were given food, sweet, and of course money. So that was the most important thing. So 8 or 9 rupees from our own homes and some more from other people's homes made for about 10, 15, depending on how many homes we'd been called to. So we returned the same thing for other children. We invite other children to our home to do the same thing, and we did it on the Navami or the 9th day. Now there is a set standard menu for this particular puja on the Navami, which is again something which was extremely interesting, because it was not something we eat these things in on different occasions, but not all together. So this came all together, and we'd make, there would be suji halwa or shira, there would be puris, there would be this particular preparation with chickpea or chana, which was dry and with masalas and extremely tasty. So that was something that we made. Now, some people use the black gram or the horse gram for this particular thing, but we use the white, which is the chickpea. And there was bundi raita. And this was such a simple but such a delicious combination. And of course, like we've spoken so many times before, when it was made for the puja, the taste was just something else. It just had its own, I think it was the energy and the happiness of the day that sort of seeped into this entire thing. So it was really, really nice. And you call the kids, the little girls would come, sit, and we'd finish our own puja. So by this time, our germinated wheat, the wheat grass had grown to, quite a good length. And our puja thali that day had the 2 puris in the middle instead of the roti. We had 2 puris with the same lamb and 5 other puris around it for all of us as prasad, with everything in it, with a little bit of halwa, with a little bit of raita, a little bit of chana. And this is what was offered after we finished the puja. My father, of course, as head of the family, is the one who conducted the puja. He used to always break off some of the tips of the grass and sprinkle it in everyone's food, which was also for abundance, prosperity and blessings. So this was essentially what happened. And then after that, as a family, we'd finish our puja with the aarti, we'd sing the aarti to Durga Mata. And after that was done, all of us would have, our tilaks and everything, put the thread tied. Same things were done for these little girls. They'd be made to stick their feet out, and my dad would wash their feet with water and follow the same procedure. Some of them would be so uncomfortable and squirmish because, people send their kids to different homes, but the children are not necessarily always willing. But they come. Then they eat and we used to give them bangles. We used to give them money and we'd give them bangles. They'd be so fascinated with those little bangles, or sometimes give them little chunnis and things like that, which really excited them. So it was a very, all in all, an extremely wonderful and very, very fulfilling kind of an experience. Now, there's another aspect to this entire celebration, which is fasting. A lot of us fast for this particular festival, in which we don't eat grains. Here again, it varies from family to family. Different people eat different things and don't eat different things. So at home, the only abstinence was that we didn't eat vegetables. We didn't eat, there was no, grain that was consumed. No cereals, no grains. So no rice, no rotis, no dals, and no vegetables, lots of them. So essentially, it came down to a wonderful high carb diet, which even today is something people would probably frown upon, but there's a huge variety of things that can be made with these fabulous gluten-free flours and tapioca pearls, or sabudana as it's called, or sago, potatoes, buckwheat flour, amaranth flour, and there's another one that we ate, also water chestnut flour. So these are the things that were used as ingredients, and you can make it with anything, millets, different kinds of millets essentially. And you could eat it in whatever combination you wanted. Sometimes in the way of vadas, in the way of, parathas, in the way of roti, with curd, with a potato curry. And no, you could have used ginger, but no garlic, no tomatoes. So the entire cooking was, in a way, more sattvic, as it's called. You could do many things in a completely different form. So if you looked at it, growing up, it was not something that we all did all the time. So we had one designated date where all of us fasted. So when that happened, it used to be a feast because it meant no eating the boring roti, sabzi and everyday thing. But here there were these nice crisp vadas and curd, and also fox nuts, which are makhanas. There used to be a kheer made out of that. So that used to be really, really interesting because it was something different. It was something novel, and it was not something that we did every day, and we did it only twice in the year. So this was something that we really look forward to. But as a grown-up, I usually fast for all the 9 days and stick to eating, fruit and milk or curd, and of course all these little fried things and everything that you could from time to time. That's a practice also. I think in a lot of ways, this abstinence sort of it's just a soul stirring thing. It's something that, is something you want to give as an offering. One would probably argue that, what's the point of fasting like that when you're eating all the time? But I think to a person who's actually fasting, it's a very, there's a piety involved in the entire thing. So it's extremely nice. It's a very, very nice feeling at the end of it all when you finish your, 8 days of fasting, and the 9th day when you finish your puja and you eat that first morsel of your puri. It's a very, very satisfying kind of a feeling. And it's something that I enjoy quite a bit, even though it's not something that I don't know how long I'd be able to do it, but as long as I can do it, I would like to follow this particular, system of fasting. Now that on the 9th day, it's a virtual feast, the Navami. Everybody, we have family, we have friends, whoever wants to eat comes, drops in and eats. And as you would imagine, the food is never ever less. Everybody eats and goes happily, and we get, exchange prasad and things like that. People give things as well. People exchange gifts as well. So that depends on everyone's, shraddha, as it's called. So whoever wants to do anything with it goes ahead and does it. But overall, these 9 days are something that I think we all wait and look forward to. And this whole system of, there's a rhythm to this entire 9 days of the puja, the waking up in the morning, the cleaning of the temple the day before, the organizing of things, the flowers, the food every day, the everyday's offerings, and putting aside that little bit of small katori for a little girl. There's an entire atmosphere. There's a festivity in the air, and at the same time, there's a feeling of great satisfaction at having, done this and done it right. I think this is more or less what I would think I need to share with everybody about the Navratri in my house. As far as the recipe goes, I think I'd like to share the recipe of the foxnut kheer, or the Makhana kheer as it's called. So for those who are aware, foxnuts are also known as makhanas, which essentially are the seeds of the lotus flower. Extremely nutritious and very healthy. It's dry, it's almost like thermocol, and completely light, weightless when you look at it. And you get them in packets in the market. You take about, let's say, 1 katori full of foxnuts or makhana, and you cut them up into little bits, very small little bits. If you look at it, somebody puts a raw piece in the mouth, they'll say it's thermocol. But no, it's not thermocol. So you break these into little bits. You'll probably need to use a knife to, cut this up. And you use about, for this 1 katori of broken or cut up makhanas, you can take about 1 liter of milk. Full cream milk makes sense because it gives you a creamier consistency. Then you take this makhana and roast it dry in a kadhai or in a pan, whatever you're using to make this the kheer. And once you've roasted it, you pour in the milk and allow it to come to a boil and simmer it. And keep stirring it. Remember to keep stirring it, because if you don't, it'll get stuck and it's likely to burn. So what I like to do is I prefer using one of my more non-stick kind of surfaces to do this particular task, so that the milk doesn't, as it keeps thickening, the milk doesn't, stick to the sides and to the bottom and things like that. In the meantime, you can pound 3 cardamoms, remove the peel and just powder it. You can cut up blanched almonds or almonds without blanching, or you could just simply take almonds and pound them, about 8 to 10 almonds or as many as you'd like. You could perhaps use a few strands of saffron as well if you'd like in it. And while this is boiling, while the makhana is boiling in the milk, you can add all of this together and allow it all to cook and come together in a thickish consistency. It's not completely dry. It's not a rubbery consistency. It's a kheer consistency. Different people use this consistency to suit their own purpose. So you can perhaps just check and see. It needs to be a coating consistency. It needs to coat the back of your spoon, whatever spoon you're using. Now, once it's reached this particular consistency is when you add sugar to suit your taste. Some people use extra sugar, some people use less sugar. So I'd leave that to your own understanding, and you can put as much sugar as you want, mix it up. Once the sugar melts, you just allow it to cook that little bit more, so that the sugar, whatever moisture has come with the sugar, will probably also imbibe itself in the kheer. Once it's all done and it's all looking happy and pretty, you can perhaps just throw a few blanched slivers of almonds on it and turn the flame off. You can use this, eat it either hot or cold. and enjoy this because this is absolutely delicious. It's one of my most favorite things. Unfortunately, or for some strange reason, we don't make it all the time. We wait for the puja to happen when we make this because this is also something that can be eaten in the fast. Rice kheer cannot be consumed, but this can. So we wish you a wonderful festive season, and we hope that you've all had a wonderful season since the season's almost over, and you've enjoyed our presentation of Navratri in different areas of the country, because Dussehra, the 10th day, or which is also called Vijayadashmi, is celebrated as the final culmination of the good over evil. This is the day that we know that Lord Rama, in a parallel story, had vanquished Ravan, who had abducted Sita. So in the 14 years of Vanvas or exile that Lord Rama spent in the forests, moving from place to place, Sita was abducted and by Ravan, and over a period of time, with the help of Hanuman and many other characters who are written about in the Ramayana, we know that Ravan was finally vanquished. So to celebrate this, there is, a celebration, a public celebration called the Ram Leela, in which Lord Rama is supposed to be standing in one particular place, and 3 large effigies of Ravan and his 2 brothers, Meghnad and Kumbhakaran, are filled with crackers and left there. And somebody who's dressed up as Rama, after all the depictions and all the dance and drama is over, takes an arrow lit with a flame and shoots at it, and they erupt into flames with a lot of crackers going off. So that is how this whole ends, and I think with the sound of those crackers and the knowledge that the good always prevails, I wish everybody a wonderful Dussehra and a fabulous year of joy. रसोई के रहस्य में ये आखिरी एपिसोड था दशहरे का. अभी भी कुछ त्योहार बाकी हैं. हम इनके बारे में बात करेंगे, तो सुनते रहिए हमारे साथ रसोई के रहस्य. नमस्कार.